Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in as we are on the countdown. 6 more days until Donald Trump is sworn in as the 47th president of the United States. With the inauguration less than a week away, the excitement is growing for what is to be a celebration of the beginning of reclaiming the country. Details who will be part of the celebration were released yesterday. We'll talk about those in just a minute. The Hunter Biden special counsel, David Weiss, slammed Joe Biden and his criticism as gratuitous and wrong as he released a report on the First Son's probe yesterday. We have the details of that probe. The New York Post does a deep dive into how delays and the lack of resources led to some of the devastation in Southern California. According to the Post, the LA Fire Department was late to the Palisades Fire, with witnesses saying no one came. And a former White House senior aide says President Joe Biden became like a different person as he aged in office.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
The fires continue to burn in Los Angeles area. We have an update for you in just a moment. In less than a week to go, we will see President Donald Trump. Wow, what a day that's going to be. Sworn in as our 47th president. Things are getting exciting as we learn the details of the actual event. I am so excited about being there next Monday. Trump's presidential inauguration events will feature performances by Carrie Wood, we're told, the Village People, and Lee Greenwood. Carrie Underwood issued a statement yesterday saying she is honored to be able to perform as Trump takes the oath of office on January 20th at the U.S. Capitol. In her statement, she said, "I love our country, and I'm honored to have been asked to sing at the inauguration and to be a small part of this historic event. I'm humbled to answer the call at a time when we must all come together in the spirit of unity and looking to the future." Underwood, of course, a 2005 American Idol winner, will be singing America the Beautiful and will be joined by the Armed Forces Choir and the United States Navy Academy Glee Club. A Trump-Vance inaugural committee spokesperson told Fox that Miss Underwood will perform during the swearing-in ceremony of President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance. The 70s disco group, the Village People, have been, of course, a staple during Trump's rallies over the past year with their hit YMCA and the Macho Man. The group is slated to perform at one of Trump's inaugural balls in a rally he's holding in Washington leading up to the inauguration. I also learned that the Village People will be performing at Charlie Kirk's inauguration ball, and guess who will be there? Me, right here. The Village People shared a statement on Facebook on Monday saying, "We know this won't make some of you happy to hear. However, we believe that music is to be performed without regard to politics." Hey, don't apologize. Be proud to be there. They said, "Our song YMCA is a global anthem that hopefully helps bring the country together after a tumultuous and divided campaign where our preferred candidate lost." They continued, "Therefore, we believe it's now time to bring the country together with music, which is why Village People will be performing at various events as part of the 2025 inauguration of Donald J. Trump." Look, you need to get on board there and support President Trump, and I'm glad to see they're performing. I never realized that they were not supporters of Trump. I assumed that because he was allowed to use their song that they were. Evidently, they were not. Regardless, it's going to be a fun time on Sunday evening when they perform at Charlie Kirk's Turning Point inaugural gala. Moving on, President-elect Donald Trump's allies in the U.S. House of Representatives appear to be preparing the groundwork for one of his somewhat controversial proposals, acquiring Greenland. Leading the charge is Representative Andy Ogles. He's a Republican from Tennessee who has introduced the Make Greenland Great Again Act. This bill would authorize President Trump to initiate negotiations with Denmark over the purchase of the Arctic island. The proposed legislation aims to provide Trump with the authority to enter discussions and negotiation with Denmark immediately upon his inauguration next Monday, January the 20th. According to a draft of the bill, it stipulates that any agreement reached with Denmark must be submitted to Congress within 5 calendar days, including all relevant materials. The Constitution, of course, requires congressional approval for funding such purchases. The bill signals the Republican support of the acquisition of Greenland. When this first came up, I thought it was just Trump being Trump. Evidently, this is really heading somewhere. The bill is co-sponsored by 10 other House Republicans, including some of the more prominent GOP leaders like Dan Crenshaw from Texas, Anna Paula Luna from Florida, Barry Moore from Alabama, incoming House Science Committee Chairman Brian Babin, he's a Republican from Texas. Ogles justified the proposal, citing Greenland's strategic location near Russia and its potential economic and security benefits for the U.S. He said Joe Biden took a blowtorch to a reputation these past 4 years. President Trump is telling the world that America first is back. Trump, of course, first floated this idea of purchasing Greenland in his first term back in 2019. Again, I just thought it was Trump talking. When he first brought it up, it sparked international debate. It prompted a sharp rebuke from Danish officials, saying that it's not for sale. That was their response just last week when the prime minister from Denmark again said it's not for sale. Now, the proposal has regained renewed attention among Trump's Republican supporters, who have emphasized that it has a strategic importance in the Arctic area and our national security. So if we're in a position to do it, let's go for it. Trump, of course, has been talking about this more so in the past few weeks, suggesting that he would not rule out using economic or military pressure to acquire Greenland. I hope it doesn't come to that. I'm not sure that it's worth taking military action. What do you think? I'd love to hear from you. Text me, email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. I think it's all right if we buy it, but do you think that it's worth us using military action to try to take it? I'm not sure about that. Proponents of the plan, of course, argue that Greenland would solidify our Arctic presence, which it would. It would make it a lot tougher for Russia or China to influence the area. But, wow. I'm not sure that we can force them to sell it to us. You tell me. Text me. Email me. The Make Greenland Great Again Act comes alongside other legislative moves to support President Trump's foreign policy objectives. Representative Dusty Johnson has introduced a bill that would enable the U.S. to purchase the Panama Canal, to buy it back. Jimmy Carter gave it away for $1. I guess now we got to buy it back. Now, what's that going to cost us? This, of course, just shows that there is GOP support in the Congress to support Trump's vision of expanding our influence through these territorial acquisitions. Now, while the bill is a strong signal of their support now, we'll see. We'll see once things get kind of tough and we get down to the nitty-gritty of actually making these deals work, if they'll stand behind Trump. Again, what is our appetite for these two items? For buying the Panama Canal back? Yes, it'd be great to have it back. Don't know why we gave it away to begin with. God rest his soul, Jimmy Carter just gave it away. Kind of as a testament of what kind of president he really was. Denmark, again, resoundingly says, no, they will not sell it. Now, maybe that's just part of their negotiation. Maybe they want us to really, really want it. Maybe that's part of the psychological thing. You know, quite often when you're trying to buy something from someone, the person selling it, they want you to think, well, we really don't want to sell this. Don't want to sell it. It's not for sale. I've never had anything that was really for sale. Although in the back of my mind, I knew for the right price, I would. We'll see. We'll see. Love to get your comments. Email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. You can always text me as well. What do you think about us spending whatever it's going to take? And these are going to be some very expensive acquisitions. Denmark's not going to be cheap. Neither is the Panama Canal. Do we purchase these at a time when we have a $30+ trillion debt? Don't have money to pay our bills now? Is this a sign that we're living outside of our means? We'll see. Coming up, special counsel David Weiss delivered a scathing rebuttal to President Joe Biden's characterization that his investigation of Hunter Biden was biased and political. I'll give you the details. Special counsel David Weiss delivered a scathing rebuttal to President Joe Biden's characterization that his investigation of Hunter Biden was somehow politically motivated. This followed Biden's issuance of a sweeping pardon for Hunter, of course, back in December. In a 27-page report that was released yesterday, Weiss defended the integrity of the prosecution, dismissing claims of political bias and underscoring the seriousness of the crimes involved. Weiss, who also serves as the U.S. Attorney for Delaware, of course, prosecuted Hunter Biden on tax fraud and gun charges. It resulted in a unanimous jury conviction for 3 gun felonies and Hunter's guilty plea to charges of evading $1.4 million in taxes from foreign dealings. And that was light, I think. I think Hunter got off very light on just those charges, and I think most of the country believed that. Weiss sharply criticized President Biden's assertion that Hunter was targeted because of his family ties, describing the claim as gratuitous and wrong. He stated these prosecutions were the culmination of thorough, impartial investigations, not partisan politics. 8 judges across numerous courts have rejected claims that they were a result of selective or vindictive motives. Weiss's report emphasized that Hunter Biden's tax crimes were not trivial, nor were they technical violations. He rejected the argument that Hunter Biden's past struggles with addiction mitigated his actions. He noted that Hunter filed a fraudulent 2018 tax return in February of 2020, 8 months after he achieved sobriety, if you believe Hunter. He wrote, the evidence demonstrated that as Mr. Biden held high-paying positions, earning him millions of dollars, he chose to keep funding his extravagant lifestyle instead of paying his taxes. Therefore, the prosecution of Mr. Biden was warranted given the nature and seriousness of his tax crimes. And again, this was just one instance. There were many others, I'm sure, that Hunter Biden was guilty of. President Biden's pardon of his son covered all federal offenses committed between January 1st, 2014 and December the 1st of 2024. It was a sweeping pardon. Nothing like we have ever seen. In the announcement, Biden argued that the cases against his son were politically motivated and reflected a miscarriage of justice. Weiss took offense to that. He strongly countered the narrative, stating, calling those rulings into question and injecting partisanship into the independent administration of the law undermines the very foundation of what makes America's justice system fair and equitable. And he's right. Shame on Joe Biden. We all know why Joe Biden pardoned Hunter, even after saying he would not for over a year. Talk about political. Joe Biden only claimed he would never pardon Hunter because he thought he was going to be running for president again. And he knew that the country wouldn't like it. He knew it was wrong. That's why Joe Biden said that for months, that he would not be offering a pardon, because he knew it was wrong. It was the wrong thing to do. And he knew that the country would hold him accountable. But since he dropped out of the race, and since he didn't have another term coming up, he changed his mind. He's going to once again provide cover for little Hunter, which is, I'm sure, what he's done for Hunter's entire life. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer criticized the report as incomplete and accused Weiss of shielding the Biden family from broader accountability. Comer called the pardon an attempt to prevent further scrutiny of what he terms the Biden crime family. Now, Weiss lost on this in both directions, didn't he? I mean, he's critical of Joe Biden for being critical of his work as a prosecutor, but yet the Republicans know that he didn't go far enough. The Republicans know that Weiss, in the end, really went light on Hunter Biden. Comer said, let's be clear. The Biden DOJ was never going to prosecute the Biden crime family. The president's legacy is the same as his family's business dealings, corrupt. Weiss's report did not address some of the key aspects of the investigation, including claims by IRS whistleblowers of interference in the investigation, including efforts to shield Joe Biden from inquiries. There's still a lot of questions that have gone unanswered. Also, it didn't talk about the expiration of the statute of limitations on Hunter's alleged pre-2016 tax crimes. He just got off scot-free for those. And the decision not to pursue foreign agents registration of FARA charges despite Hunter's extensive foreign dealings. So Hunter Biden got off very light, even if he had been convicted, which he was, and had to have served the sentence provided by the court. These omissions, of course, have led a lot of questions about whether the investigation was thorough, as Weiss has claimed. Weiss's report paints a very stark picture of the tension between the Biden administration and the Justice Department. While Weiss maintained that his conduct was above reproach and seemed to be upset that Joe Biden was questioning it, he also acknowledged that the president's public statements undermine public trust in the justice system. He said, in making my decisions, I remain impervious to political influence at all times. However, Mr. Biden and his counsel have continuously accused me of vindictively and selectively prosecuting him. These baseless accusations have no merit, and repeating them threatens the integrity of the justice system as a whole. The Weiss report and the sweeping pardon, of course, has reignited the debate over the independence of the Justice Department and the propriety of presidential pardons. Joe Biden really abused his power when he pardoned his own son. I don't know that there's anyone in this country, or maybe in the world, who can justify him pardoning his own son like that. A lot of unanswered questions, and I don't know if we'll ever get the answers. I hope we will, because I think Joe Biden needs to be investigated too. I think Brother Jim still has a lot of answers, a lot of questions to be answered. And of course, little Hunter does as well. If in fact Joe Biden received parts of those millions and millions of dollars that Hunter Biden received, don't you think he should still be prosecuted? Your comments are welcome. Text me, email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. There's a lot of talk about making America great again, and it begins with making America healthy again. Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team at PhD Weight Loss are at the forefront to educate and guide you to be your best self. The millions being spent in propping up Big Pharma are astounding, only to create long-term dependency and harmful side effects. Let's take a natural approach that isn't connected to a pharmaceutical company's bottom line. The coaches at PhD Weight Loss will show you how. The entire program is centered around science and nutrition, a proven roadmap that has helped over 8,000 clients lose over 331,000 pounds. You'll learn what to eat and when, how to quiet cravings, and finally get rid of that belly fat. Plus, you'll never take a medication. How many pounds would you like to lose in 2025? Do it the natural way with PhD Weight Loss, here to lead the charge to make America healthy again. Call PhD Weight Loss and schedule your consultation. 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. The New York Post is reporting that the Pacific Palisades wildfire, which erupted, of course, on January the 7th, has exposed some very glaring gaps in Los Angeles' emergency response capabilities and has highlighted the frustrations among the residents who are paying the bills. The blaze, which has claimed many lives, has destroyed thousands and thousands of acres, in addition to homes and businesses, as it has spiraled out of control. According to the records and some of the accounts from the residents, it took at least 45 minutes for firefighters to respond to some of the initial reports of smoke near the Pacific Palisades neighborhood. 45 minutes. By the time first responders arrived, around 11 a.m., the fire had already grown to a 10-acre blaze. Now, just think about if they had responded faster, they might have could have contained that within that 10-acre area. The blaze, of course, was fueled by strong winds, dry conditions. The fire expanded quickly to 200 acres within a half hour, they said. Michael Valentine is a homeowner in the area. He reported the fire at 10:15 a.m. His wife called 911 again at 10:45, only to get a busy signal. Valentine described the scene as chaotic with limited communication and no immediate response. He said, for the longest time, I didn't see any police, firefighters, not on the ground or in the air. He's very frustrated. Radio traffic reviewed by the Washington Post revealed firefighters were already stretched thin, managing two smaller fires in West Hollywood and Altadena. At 10:33 a.m., fire officials noted smoke near the Pacific Palisades, but were delayed in diverting resources. Helicopters loaded with water were grounded due to strong winds, further hampering their efforts. The fire escalated, of course, dramatically, and by 10:48 a.m., an official warned over the radio that fire was 100% in alignment with the wind and could grow quickly to hundreds of acres, they said. And it did within minutes. It just makes you think back and wonder what would have happened if the governor and if the mayor had not been taking away millions and millions of funds to support first responders. If they had been staffed the way they should have been, think of what it could have potentially saved. If they could have responded like they should have, then maybe they could have contained this much earlier. Julie Valentine, Michael's sister, described her desperate attempt. She said, I was calling 911 over and over, begging them to come out and help Michael and the others. With no immediate aid, Michael and his neighbors resorted to makeshift firefighting efforts to protect their own homes. Residents now are expressing anger over a lack of preventive measures, particularly the failure to clear dry brush in the area, which just served as a natural accelerant for the fire. Julie Valentine remarked, I am mandated to clear the brush on my property, but beyond the fence line, nobody from the city or state took care of it. Look, we're going to be getting the Sunday night or Monday morning quarterbacking for a long, long time. There's going to be a lot of what ifs. What if they had responded? What if they had had more people to respond? What if they hadn't had a nut as a mayor? What if they didn't have a nut as a governor? Wow. On the text line, texter Joey, yes, nonsensical is a word. It means having no meaning or making no sense, which is apropos for Joe. This in response yesterday, I talked about how Jake Tapper responded to Joe Biden saying that Kamala could have beaten Trump. I mean, even Jake Tapper, I think, is over Joe Biden and his nonsensicalism. Is that a word? Texter Jeff says, it's easy for us to sit back and say, let it go. It's only a house. But when you work hard your whole life to make that a home, it would be hard to leave it and lose everything you have. This is in response to a story I told you yesterday as well about an elderly man losing his life because he would not leave his home. He stayed behind with his water hose trying to protect his home that he had lived in over 50 years. I get it. I understand. As Joe Biden's time in office nears its conclusion, thank goodness, reflections on his presidency from current and former White House insiders, political strategists, and the president himself are painting a mixed picture of his legacy and his leadership, or lack thereof. A former senior White House staffer, speaking anonymously, of course, to the BBC, described how President Biden's demeanor in the latter part of his presidency has markedly been different from his earlier years in office. The person said, watching Biden speak, I'm like, oh my God, this is a different person, noting that the gradual change may not have been as obvious to those working with him daily. The staffer also alluded to growing frustration and internal divisions within the administration, saying that as things started to become a grind and you lose that sense of getting big things done, it can give way to infighting and frustration. Political strategist Susan Estrich kind of made a comparison of Biden's legacy and just how it is exactly opposite of what he thinks. She said he'd like his legacy to be that he rescued us from Trump. But sadly for him, his legacy is Trump again. He is the bridge from Trump 1 to Trump 2. This sentiment reflects the political reality that Joe Biden's presidency, which began as Democrats' corrective measure to what they perceived as being Trump's bad policy, ultimately led Trump to an electoral victory like no one has seen. Look, Biden has said he hopes to be remembered as a leader who acted with integrity and worked to heal a divided nation. We all know that he was far from that. That is far from the truth. He was one of the most divisive presidents in modern time because he allowed the woke leftists to push the country into areas the average American does not feel comfortable in being. Americans don't want to see men playing in women's sports simply because they couldn't compete against other men. American men don't want their wives and daughters having to worry about going to a women's restroom or locker room and seeing a naked man there. Americans don't want their hometowns invaded by people from other countries because their own country's not livable. So they come here and they start to destroy our hometowns. Americans don't want to have their companies hiring people who are not qualified for a job simply because of the color of their skin or their nationality or their sexual orientation. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris represent everything that is wrong with our country since Joe Biden has been in office. And the American people simply got tired of it and on November the 5th said enough. Enough is enough. Joe Biden was a puppet by the left to achieve these miserable things. And Biden was too old. Biden was too feeble to fight back. That's his legacy. He talked about always wanting to do the right thing, standing on the moral high ground, but then he allows his son to sell his soul, and then he abuses his authority as the most powerful man in the nation and gives his son a get-out-of-jail-free card. That's the real Joe Biden. Nothing moral, nothing about the high ground there. I don't know if that is really the true Joe Biden or if that's the true old man, the true feeble Joe Biden, the man who has no cognitive skills whatsoever now and has drifted off into another world, and he just doesn't understand that his staff, that maybe even his wife, has taken advantage of him. Another senior Biden official told the BBC that the administration seemed to be more decisive and unified in the early days of the administration, saying that they had a sense of mission, driving major policy accomplishments, noting that over time they observed diminishing momentum and growing challenges in maintaining focus and cohesion. and that's simply because Joe Biden can't focus on anything now. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. The first regular session of the 126th South Carolina General Assembly convenes later this morning. Representing the people of House District 117 in Berkeley County, Representative Jordan Pace. He's also chairman of the South Carolina Freedom Caucus, and he joins us on our guest line today. Welcome, Representative Pace. How are you, sir?
Hey, Joey. Thanks for having me. Doing great.
Always a pleasure. Appreciate your time. Let's just start with a quick overview of the issues that you see as priorities as you go back into session.
Yeah. So we have a list of eight things for the Freedom Caucus that are kind of in our priority list. But one of the first is closing the primaries. This has been brought up. A bill has been filed to do this for 18 years. Somehow, despite having a supermajority now in both houses, we still haven't got it done. The whole premise of that, for those who want to know, is that only Republicans should vote in Republican primaries, and only Democrats should vote in Democrat primaries. And if we had that, like many other states do, then perhaps we wouldn't have the reputation in South Carolina as being the most liberal Republican-dominated state in the country.
Yeah,
on both the state and federal level. So that's pretty high on our list.
What has been the pushback on that? I mean, who would object to closing the primaries?
Well, the trouble is, if we can get it to the floor, it would pass. But the trouble is getting through committees, and and on the committee side, again, we have a supermajority, but we have, even on judiciary, which is where those kind of bills go for subcommittee and committee, there are Democrats chairing subcommittees.
Yeah.
And a bill's got to get through subcommittee to get through committee to get to the floor. So most of the time, closing the primary bills don't even get a subcommittee hearing, and that's where essentially it gets smacked down. So if we can get it to the floor, I think it passed. Yeah.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah, but the kind of adjacent to that is election integrity. We have everything from increasing the number of hand-counted audits to stopping taxpayer money from being used to provide voter registration forms for non-citizens. That's something that got brought up a little bit toward the end of last session from the upstate, actually. There were some non-citizens, some immigrants, legal immigrants, who brought it to our attention that they kept receiving over and over again these voter registration forms. And we tried to put an amendment in the budget to stop our state agencies from doing that, and it didn't get enough votes. But those are the kind of things we want the voters of South Carolina to feel secure in their elections, and that means closing the primaries, actually having real substantial audits in the precincts, and make sure non-citizens are not having voter registration forms delivered to them over and over and over again.
Yeah. On our guest line today, Representative Jordan Pace, that's another issue there that just makes no sense to me why anyone would oppose that. I can't imagine Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever your party affiliation may be, that you would want a non-citizen voting in our elections?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you'd have to ask them why they'd oppose it, but like I said, most of the time, it's not open opposition. It's using the rules or using kind of the machine of government, the committee structure, to prevent it from ever coming up.
Yeah.
But we've proven, and we've proven when money's on the line, they can get things done quick. I think we passed that
real quick
handout to Scout Motors,
yes.
$1.3 billion out of the Treasury in record time, less than 2 weeks.
Yes.
9 days, 10 days, something like that. So we can do things fast when there's motivation to do it. We just need, the voters need to call and tell their reps, hey, get this done like 20 years ago.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Maybe they could act that quickly on some tax cuts that I've been hearing a lot about. A number of your colleagues have said that we're going to be looking for some tax cuts. Is that one of your priorities as well?
The very first bill I ever filed when I first got elected was to cut the income tax to zero. Not even graduated, just go straight to zero.
Yeah.
And so that's near and dear to my heart. All of our neighbors that are, the fast growth states, Tennessee, Texas, Florida, none of them have an income tax. And then now all of our surrounding states are lower than ours. There's been various talk, and look, I'm encouraged that leadership has heard us talk about it for years. The members of the Freedom Caucus, even before it formed, were filing bills to do this. Yeah, so it's good, and that's kind of been the pattern, honestly, for the last little while. Is we stake out a position that the voters have told us that they want: close primaries, eliminate the income tax, ban transgender surgeries for kids, all that kind of stuff. And we get made fun of, and they'll call us names in the chamber, but eventually they get on board with it. So that's kind of how it's been working, and that's fine. So it's good that they caught on. Yeah, I hope it goes to zero. The speakers talked about getting it to zero. What I'm afraid I haven't heard much from leadership, though, is about cutting spending.
Right.
So if we cut taxes, we got to cut spending.
Yeah.
And that so far they have not picked up that side of the coin from the cutting taxes side. So my fear is they'll try to make it up in some way or the other, either raise taxes on sales tax or something else to be revenue neutral.
Right.
That's not the word we need. We need an actual cut, and we need a cut in spending on top of it, because look, if you look at the states around us, we have a state government that is 50% larger as a ratio of our economy than all of our neighbors.
Yep.
The average southern states government outlays about 8% of their GDP, of their economy. Ours is 12.
Yeah.
So there's things to cut, and I've got a pretty good list going that we'll hear about in March when the budget comes out.
Sure. With us today, Representative Jordan Pace. One of the other things, of course, that there's been a lot of discussion about is tort reform. We've had a lot of businesses, primarily restaurants, bars, grills, that type of thing, who have closed. Some of these have been in business for a long, long time, but their liability insurance just got so prohibitive that they could not stay in business. What do you see happening along the way of tort reform?
Yeah, I think we have a really good momentum on that. There's been a large coalition. I think they're having a press conference tomorrow afternoon, of groups all around. It's not just bars and restaurants. I mean, that's kind of what's caught most of the news. It's industrial companies and machinists and deliver. Basically, anybody who has a fleet of vehicles has started to see the same thing. And frankly, in the next few years, it's probably going to even trickle down into the service industry, like childcare and nursing homes.
Right.
For all the same reasons, it's because of the torts and the lawsuits, and it's the trial lawyers who are making a killing, while the rest of us are having to pay the difference. And it's destroying hundreds, like you said, of small businesses, maybe even more than that. So there's a bigger coalition than there's ever been and they seem to be very determined, and I'm very encouraged by that. The Senate sent us a decent bill last year that the House never even picked up in committee. So we almost made some progress last year. Hopefully we'll make more progress this time.
Sure.
And it's certainly something that's high on our list because it's affecting, like I said, thousands of individuals around the state.
Yeah, it really is. Again, on our guest line today with me, Representative Jordan Pace. One of the things, and you and I have talked about this offline, is HOA reform. I get a lot of feedback from people who bought a home in a neighborhood that has an HOA, and then they realize, well, there's not a lot of transparency necessarily. They pay HOA fees. Yeah. They don't know how they're being spent. Are you guys looking at that?
Yeah, I know several bills have been filed and more will be to increase transparency, to provide some judicial oversight other than going to circuit court, which is already jammed up with every other kind of every other kind of suit that you can think of. There's a lot of people that are unhappy, justifiably, with their HOAs, because it's a form of government. I mean, it is oftentimes a private form of government, but it's still a form of government. They can put liens on your house. They can do all kinds of stuff similar to what government can. And Florida's kind of led the way on this, like a lot of things. So I'm hoping we will kind of look to their model and what they've done in regards to HOA reform and follow that lead.
Sure. Representative Pace, it's been a pleasure. Seems like the time just really flies here because I know there are a lot of other issues we could talk about. I hope that you'll plan to join us again sometime soon and maybe throughout the session and just give us an update and keep us informed along the way.
Absolutely. It's always good to talk with you, Joey, and get back to my upstate roots where I grew up.
Sure thing. Representative Jordan Pace. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.